Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Afterthought, where we talk all things mental health and real life. My name is Roxanne Francis. I am a registered social worker and a clinical psychotherapist. I work with people every day as they try to sort out their mental health challenges. I do corporate consultation and supervision, and now I'm also offering private practice VIP days. Hello, everyone. I want to talk to you about 6 ways to know when it's time to start your private practice. But before I do that, just wave and say hi. Let me know how you're doing. How are you enjoying the day? How are you enjoying the summer? If you are in the Toronto area, then you know that we are enjoying the post-lockdown period and hoping that it lasts for a really, really long time. Yes, I am based in Canada. Let me know where you are hailing from. Thanks for jumping in. We're talking about mental health and we're talking about private practice tonight. I used to work in the public sector. I used to work for a community organization that provided therapy to the public, and now I operate as a private practitioner, and I want to talk to people about how they can tell when it's time to start theirs. So without further ado, I am going to jump right on in. Point number 1. Oh, you are in Durham. That's amazing. So am I. So point number 1, you are increasingly asked at work to do more than you are actually able to do. That means you are, hey Dwayne, what's up? So if at work you're constantly being asked to do more than you can actually do, right? You are being asked to take on more clients. You are asked to work longer hours. You are asked to head up different teams. You are asked to stay late. You are asked to do the overtime. You are asked and you are asked and you are asked. And you are not being given any more pay, right? If you are being stretched to the limit, then you know that something has to shift. Yes, I will save my life and I will post it later. So if you have to go, that's totally fine. How do I say this? Hania, is that how you say your name? I will repost. Don't worry. So if you got to go, I see ya. The other way to know when it's time to make a shift is your workplace is oblivious to your mental health concerns, and they are oblivious to the fact that you need a break. So if you are working and working and working and working to the point where you feel like you're burning the candle on both ends and you are about to run out of candle, and you feel like your mental health is not doing well, if you feel like you are burning out, you are having compassion fatigue, and you absolutely hate going into work and it is impacting you really, really strongly, and your work is oblivious to it, no one is supporting you in this, no one is talking to you about how you are feeling, no one is offering you any kind of support, then, my friend, it is time to make a shift. And the shift is most likely into private practice, where you can start to set your own pace and work at your own pace and do the kind of work that you want to do. Okay, so that brings me to point number 3. Again, as it relates to mental health. If you are starting to have feelings of resentment towards your work, if you are starting to have feelings of depression around your work, if you are starting to have feelings about anxiety around your work, then you know that it is time to make a shift. I was talking to one of my really great friends the other day, and she said, work is causing her quite a bit of depression. And when she thinks about private practice, it makes her so excited and joyful. This is how you know it's time to make a shift. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to make this decision, right? It's a decision that a lot of people agonize over. And we take a long time to make this decision because it's a big one. You are leaving something that is sure, your paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, every month, depending on where you work, to now depending on whether or not you get clients. And so I can understand the difficulty in trying to make that decision, but definitely know that if your mental health is suffering, then you need to start thinking about whether or not you need to make that leap from your workplace or your organization or your company into private practice. Okay, the sign number 4. So we're going with 6, and then I have a last point at the end. But sign number 4 is when you are starting to daydream about private practice. If you are daydreaming, if you already have the name picked out, if you know where you're going to practice, if you know what population you want to work with, if you are daydreaming about setting your own schedule, if you are daydreaming about being able to take your vacation and not having to ask anybody to do so, if you are wanting to take Friday off, but you know you have to send in paperwork and go through 5 different channels in order to ask for Friday off, and you're sick of it and you're daydreaming about what it would be like to just clear your schedule on Friday and take the Friday off, then you know that it's time to make the shift. Because believe me, there is nothing worse than feeling like you have absolutely no control. Yes, Stephanie, check, check, and check. That's how you know when it's time to make the shift, right? When you have someone who is kind of micromanaging your schedule. I remember having a manager who would say to me, you know, what happened in this hour or what happened here, like almost wanting a report for every single time, you know, hour that you spend. And I understand that organizations are accountable to their funders. But I worked at a hospital a while back, and they required all of the social workers to account for like every 15 minutes. And so it's almost as though the time that you would spend doing that for the day, it takes up almost a whole hour, right? So imagine not having to account for that time, just you accounting to yourself and knowing what is happening. Imagine the flexibility to work in the area that you want to work in, right? Without having to ask anyone about that. So if you are, hey, what's up? So if you are daydreaming about what that would look like, if you are daydreaming about making that shift, then hey, it's time to make the shift. Next point. When you start to get jealous about other people in private practice, when you start to get jealous about other people in private practice, then you know that, hey, that's something that you need to pay attention to. I heard someone say the other day, I'm going to try not to butcher this. Someone loosely said the other day that jealousy isn't, Rachel Rogers in her book. Rachel Rogers has a book called, the name right now, something about millionaires. Hey, Natasha, what's up? We Should All Be Millionaires is the name of the book by Rachel Rogers. And she says in it that jealousy isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes jealousy can indicate to you what it is that you want for yourself. I want you to think about that for a second. I should write that down. That could be a really great Instagram post. But anyway, jealousy indicates something that you want for yourself. So if your friend is taking a vacation every 6 months and you find yourself extremely green-eyed and really, really jealous because you haven't been able to take a vacation in 3 years, it's not because you're jealous for the sake of being jealous. It's because you want a vacation and you aren't able to do so, and you're watching someone live the life that you want, right? Yes, we all know about the comparison trap, and I know more than anybody else that we all come from different places and we all bloom at different times depending on our circumstances. But sometimes we get jealous because people have the thing that we want to do, and it can propel you to go after the thing that you want, that thing that maybe something close to what they have, something that you want. Go after it, right? So if you see other people start their private practice, listen, I'll tell you a personal story. Right before I started my private practice, I was actually thinking about it. I had all of these signs, and I was thinking about what it would look like to go into private practice. And I was really, really nervous about it. I was making all the notes. I was calling all the people and asking people for advice. And then a friend of mine, I noticed that she posted on social media that she is now, in private practice. And I thought to myself, she's a distant friend, a lot younger than I am. And I thought to myself, hey, I have way more experience than she does. How come she can start private practice and I can't? And, something inside of me said, Roxanne, don't be stupid. Don't get jealous and don't get angry. Call her up and ask her how she did it. And so I did just that. And so she was able to share some things with me. And so I made some more notes. I called a few more people and I went after what it is that I wanted. I didn't just sit there and seethe in jealousy and rage and worry about comparison. And I encourage you to similar action. If you see other people, especially people who are maybe less experienced than you or maybe younger than you, and they're going after the things and they're making the moves, instead of sitting around just being jealous, let's figure out how they did it, and you can start to do likewise. So, that jealousy that rises up in you when you see other people starting their private practice, it's an indication that this is something that you want, and I want it to spur you on to go after that thing, right? The next point is, when you have taken a medical leave or you have taken a stress leave from work, but nothing changes when you go back to work, that is an indication that nothing will change. And if you require any shift or you require a move to be made, then you have to be the one to make the shift. You have to be the one to make the move. I say on here all the time that I had to take stress leave from work. I had to take 2, right? Before, yes, I was a little hard-headed. But I remember the second time I went to my doctor and I asked her, I told her what was going on. I had tears in my eyes. I asked her to write me a letter for time off from work. And, my doctor is amazing. She looked at me and she said, Roxanne, what's going to change when you go back to work? What is going to change? And I knew well enough that nothing was going to change, right? I was seeing trauma clients all day, every day, and it was starting to get to me. My kids were a lot younger. I was torn between working and, I was torn between being at work and being at home. And it was a job where, a couple days a week, I had to work nights. And the nights didn't end at like 7, they ended at 9. So I missed the whole evening, right, from home. And for me, home and family, those are huge values for me, right? And so I was having all of these symptoms, right? I was being resentful towards my work. I was being really angry. Not necessarily anxious or depressed, but just maybe a little bit depressed. I was seething. And when you have anger that you can't get rid of, or you can't process, or you can't work through, then it goes inward and it becomes depression, right? So I was struggling. And that is when I realized, hey, I went to work and I asked to get shifted from the trauma focus all the time, and I was told no. I asked around, can I have some kind of flexibility around work? Can I part-time, take a break, leave of absence, all these things? And I was told no. I was told that we couldn't shift. You can't work from home. And look at this. Pandemic happened and they found a way for everybody to work from home, right? But when I wanted it before, a year or 2 before the pandemic, I was told no. So, all these things that I was denied all pointed to, Roxanne, you need to get out of here. And so I encourage you, if you are in a workplace situation and you are finding that they're completely inflexible and you are having to take time off from work just to maintain your sanity, if you are finding that you are struggling from compassion fatigue, if you are exhibiting signs of burnout, if you are struggling with vicarious trauma, you don't necessarily need to quit the profession. Maybe you need to, figure out an exit strategy from your employer that is driving you up the wall, and maybe consider what it might look like to actually work for yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that entrepreneurship is for everyone, because it isn't. It's for some of us and it's not for everyone. I can't say when I left school, my plan was never to become an entrepreneur, right? But here I am. And even when I think about private practice, somehow the words private practice and entrepreneur don't seem to mean the same thing, right? For me, in my brain. But here I am. And what I have found is that I now have the opportunity to say, no, I don't want to do that work. This is the kind of work I want to do. I want to focus on here and not focus on that. I want to shift my role in this way, and then I want to shift it in that way. And all of that I'm able to do because I don't have to answer to anybody but me, right? Again, it's not for everybody. And the last point that I want to make, which isn't necessarily a sign for you to know when to start your private practice, but it is an important point that I do not want to forget. Starting a private practice does not mean you have to quit your job right away. It does not mean that you have to, curse out your boss and leave and in a big dramatic fashion. Take your time and slowly figure things out. Some leaders make it virtually impossible to thrive in professional spaces. We shouldn't have to become entrepreneurs to experience peace. You are so right. And it's one of the reasons why part of the work that I do is about educating employers, educating leaders, showing them how to support staff wellness and treat them well and manage HR practices in a way that supports employee retention. Because, they say that employees don't leave good jobs, they leave bad bosses. And if you are a bad boss, if you make it impossible, if you don't support good policy at work, then you will lose your employees. After I left my organization, within about 7 months, 4 other people left, right? Because they began to realize, hey, I don't have to do this. I don't have to deal with this, right? They looked at me almost like an example. Oh, she didn't stay. She didn't stay for the benefits. She didn't stay for the pension. I'm not saying you should leave your benefits and leave your pension, but really think about it. And if you can navigate working in a different department that treats their staff better, then do that. If you can navigate working for a different leader, then do that. It isn't all about entrepreneurship. Working for a good organization is really, really great if you can find a good organization. If you have a good boss, I hear about some really, really great organizations. I provide training and support to some really, really great companies who really are invested in supporting their staff and keeping them happy. So if you are a leader who is like that, then I applaud you 100%. However, if you, and I'll go over the points again, if your workplace is increasingly asking you to deliver more than you're able to deliver, if they're oblivious to your mental health concerns and your need for a break, if you're beginning to have feelings of depression, anxiety, and resentment towards work, if you are starting to sweat on Sunday nights when you think about Monday morning, it's an issue. When you are daydreaming about starting your private practice, when you get jealous that other people are working on their own private practice, and when you've taken a medical leave or a stress leave from work and you go back to work and absolutely nothing changes, these are things, and if you've experienced just one of these, it's not so bad. You can figure out a way to stay. If you're experiencing all of these things, then honey, it's time to think it through, right? And figure out what needs to happen. Yes, Have says, choose happiness. It's worth it. Listen, this life is too short, right? One of my best friends contracted COVID-19 last year, and I was so worried that things were going to go sideways. Thank God she's fine. She's okay now. But you really have to reevaluate. I think this pandemic has taught a lot of us that we really need to reevaluate our lives. This season is what a lot of companies are calling the Great Resignation. Is that what they're calling it? Yeah, the Great Resignation. Because this past April, an unprecedented amount of people left their corporate jobs, left their full-time jobs, and saying, I'm not going to work in misery anymore just for the sake of working in misery. People are choosing happiness. This is so good and applicable for even those who are not therapists. Thank you for this. You're welcome. Can you talk about some of the logistics about starting a private practice, like registering as a business, different platforms to use for documentation, etc.? Listen, I can give you a little bit, but I can't give all of it away because if you have been following my posts on Instagram, then you know that I am offering a private practice VIP day as a part of my new offering in my work. So if you are actually considering starting a private practice and you need to figure out all the steps, you spend one day with me and I give you all the steps that you need. Listen, it took me about 6 or 8 months to gather all the information that I needed. I had to talk to multiple people. I got great advice from some and not so great advice from others, and I made some mistakes, and I want to prevent you from making those mistakes. So if you are interested in this private practice VIP day, I want you to DM me your email address for the application form. I'll send you the application form. We spend one day together. I condense everything for you. I give you what it is that you need. And then you also get 4 weeks of follow-up so that I can support you as you implement. But yes, in terms of starting private practice, if you are in the Toronto area, I'm not sure if this is the same in the States, but if you are in Canada, platforms that therapists use include New Talk, I'll Practice, Jane. There's another one that I can't quite remember at the moment off the top of my head. There are different things you need to do in terms of banking, in terms of your finances, taxes, a lot of things that you need to be aware of that that will help you avoid some costly mistakes. Documentation, notes, these are things that we all cover in the Private Practice VIP Day. Yes, you do need to register your business. You do not want Canada Revenue Agency to come after you. That's the last thing you want. So, while it's important, starting a private practice is an important decision to make. It's also not one that you want to go in lightly. You don't want to go into that big decision without having some information, without having the tools and the resources that you need. So hit me up and I will send you an application form, and then we can talk about spending a day together where we cover all of these things. Again, the last thing I want to leave with you is that starting a private practice does not mean that you have to quit right away. Do your research, save your money, develop an exit strategy. You can start part-time and then save as you go along. Then when you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's and you are ready to launch full-time, you can say goodbye to your full-time job and then, move on into private practice full-time. It's not for everybody. Some people quit right away and go into full-time private practice. That's fine. I decided to take the route of starting part-time and then eventually leaving after I had enough of a clientele that would support my life without my job. So those are the things that I want to leave with you. Listen, being a therapist is not easy work. It can bury you if you're not careful. You can get lost in burnout and vicarious trauma and all those things. And those are not things I want for you. So I want you to take care of yourself. Even if, you work a good job and you decide to stay with your employer, even if you're not a therapist, I want you to do what you can to take care of yourself. Go for your walks, drink your water, eat your fruit, spend time with loved ones. Hopefully COVID-19 completely goes away. We can hang out with each other, connect with people, get some sleep. What else do you guys do for self-care? People who are on here who are therapists, let me know what you do for self-care. We're just wrapping up. We're just leaving some self-care tips. I want you to do something that makes you laugh. Watch a funny movie. Do something that's healthy for you. Journal, meditate, pray, all those things. Do your yoga, get some exercise, ride your bike, literally go for a hike. But I want you to take care of yourself, right? This is definitely the season for reevaluation. What's working for you and what's not working for you. Not just your full-time job, but life in general. Where do you need to draw boundaries as it relates to certain people and certain situations where you can say, I'm not doing that anymore because I realize that's not good for me. One of the things that I've noticed in my practice is a lot of significant health issues, a lot of critical health issues, or chronic rather, a lot of chronic health issues come from a result of living through situations that you really shouldn't live through, right? Stressful situations that you just continually take on every day. They can lead to chronic health issues. So do me a favor. Reduce the stress as much as you can and take care of yourself. You're welcome, Have. For those of you who are just joining, I'm going to save this live and put it on my feed so you guys can access it whenever you want to. You guys take care. Meet me here next Wednesday at 8 for more Afterthought. You take care of yourself, take care of your mind, because you only have one. You guys take care. Have a good night. Bye. You're welcome. We will be in touch, Stephanie.